The gramophone was one of the earliest ways you could listen to music without having to listen to it live. Over the decades, leaps in technologies have seen devices get smaller, more portable and less physical.
During the last 20 years or so, we've seen the advent of digital music. We started off buying digital downloads through services like iTunes. And then in the last few years, what's happened is that there's been a revolution in music consumption. And we've seen this huge increase in music streaming services where people can listen to what they want, when they want, on almost any device that they want.
2 decades ago, the recorded music industry was worth around $25 billion worldwide, made up mainly of CD and vinyl sales. Over the following years, the music industry went into decline, shrinking to $15 billion by 2015, even with the arrival of paid download services like Apple's iTunes. The decline was mainly blamed on the rise of digital piracy, but the technology that threatened the music industry has ended up being its saviour. By 2017, the business was on the rise again, growing to $17.3 billion.
In the last few years, what we've seen is that streaming has really picked up and is now the single biggest source of revenue within the record industry. Around $6.5 billion was spent on streaming services in 2017. It's now the single largest source of revenue coming into the recorded music industry worldwide.
And there's no sign of streaming running out of steam.
Even in countries that were ahead of the curve, if you like Sweden, like South Korea, where we've seen licensed streaming for a number of years, revenues are still increasing. The number of people that we see using the music streaming services are still increasing year on year. It helps us revitalise music economies in countries where previously piracy was the main way in which people were consuming music. We see countries like China, countries like India, a lot of Latin America, where streaming has become the default way that people are now consuming music. Where before they would have turned to the internet to download, they're now turning to the internet to stream through licensed services.
So does streaming mean the impending death of physical music formats like CDs? It appears not.
We've seen a huge rise recently in vinyl, for instance, which is increasing year on year. It's become really a part of the mainstream music consumption now. And I think one of the reasons for that is because a lot of people have now switched to streaming. And yet they still want that physical content. They still want that legacy connection to musical history, to be able to hold that big piece of art, read the lyrics, and be able to connect with their favourite artists in a different way.
While streaming may be dominated by names like Apple Music and Spotify, there's plenty of room for competition globally and more locally.
In China, we see clients like QQ Music and NetEase and QO really take the imagination of people. In India, we have Hungama and Wink and Savin and others. In the Middle East, we have a streaming service called Angami, which specialises in Middle Eastern music and Arabic music, as well as providing that Western music. And I think that's what's really exciting. It's the ability of streaming services to plug in to what the local consumer wants. The streaming services are giving people the best music experience you could possibly imagine. When you have 40 to 45 million tracks all available to you at the touch of a button on your smartphone, what could be more convenient?
Hello, I'm James Wright. Thanks for watching Marketing Media Money. To check out more online videos, just click on the boxes and don't forget to subscribe to the CNBC Live channel at the bottom of the screen.